I was also talking about the Diddy lawsuit. It was a very fascinating lawsuit because he was talking about the person who sued him, Hollywood, and how it operates. And it very heavily implied that the government is controlling Hollywood, that there's some sort of a gang that is controlling Hollywood. And they freaked out about that. Absolutely. You can't even talk about that. Why is that? And then it sort of reminded me in these conversations that I was having offline with Ye when all that stuff was going down. He was saying things to me that I just could not compute. He was talking to me about everybody having a handler in Hollywood. He was calling people the ops. This person is in with the government. And he notoriously said that Diddy was a Fed. He said that publicly. Diddy's a Fed. Diddy's a Fed. And everyone was like, Kanye's crazy. And now we're looking at this lawsuit and we're going, okay, wait a second. Clearly, Diddy was being protected by the government. Clearly, Diddy had a person he could call who would just clean up a mess if he shot someone, which the person in the lawsuit is alleging that he did, and that he was able to get it cleaned up and was able to get the media to lie about what actually took place at his studio. Again, those are allegations, but they are of some interest. And they're of more interest to me than ever before. Now, you may have recently seen me promoting this book, Chaos. To show it to you here, just so you guys know, this was just sent to me on my birthday this year by my friends, and I had no idea what I was getting into. Honestly, you guys, my brain is melted. I don't know what is what in American society, but I do know that the people in our government are in fact evil. It is called Chaos, and the subheading is Charles Manson, the CIA, and the Secret History of the 60s. It was written by Tom O'Neill, and I'm going to very briefly tell you how the story sets up because it's impressive. You get this guy, he's about to turn 40 years old, and his editor comes at him. He's a writer for Premiere magazine in Los Angeles or in Hollywood, and he says, hey, it's going to be the 30-year anniversary of the Manson murders, which forever changed Hollywood. Notoriously, it was believed that it ended the hippies era. The murders were so brutal and so disgusting and so jarring and so shocking that all of those hippie communes that were all over and everyone wanted to drop out of college and become a hippie automatically ended. People were suddenly buying locks and saying, okay, no, actually, we can't live freely. It's not about love and rock and roll. We need to protect our families. Nobody was experimenting with LSD anymore. And so he gets this assignment from his editor, and Tom O'Neill is like, come on, it's been 30 years. What am I going to tap into here that hasn't already been said? And he starts making some calls, and he's kind of struck by the fact that people seem almost scared to talk to him. I'm going to tell you that you will not be able to put this book down. Chaos is exactly what it is. He ends up realizing that everything the public learned about those murders was a lie. He ends up discovering that the CIA was involved. He ends up discovering that the CIA knew Charles Manson. He ends up discovering that Charles Manson himself was a Fed. Charles Manson was experimenting on behalf of the government with LSD. Intentionally drugging people, that our government was obsessed with how to create mind, how to control a mind, rather, how to create a mass psychosis. And they were conducting all sorts of illicit experiments on the American people, drugging people that worked at the CIA. This also brings us to MK Ultra. We have discussed this before. The idea that the government is involved in drugging people in an effort to control them. They say MK Ultra ended. He talks all about MK Ultra. Well, do you think it's ended? Me? No, I don't. Not after the things that Ye told me. Not after reading the text messages that were sent to him from who he says was his quote unquote handler. Threatening to drug him and send him back to La La Land, telling him he'll never see his kids again. What happened to Britney Spears? I think as a nation, we have to be able to confront the fact that there is truly evil, that demons are real. There is no way we can arm ourselves against this sort of an evil if we're not even able to acknowledge it, because it is scary. I'm telling you, when I was reading this book, I don't think I've read a book that quickly since the last Harry Potter came out. But I was chilled by not realizing how much evil our government has committed in the past. But then I felt certain of the fact that this spiritual draw that I was feeling, which I would say really, really wanting to lean into my faith, that journey kind of began for me for the last year and a half, I knew that this was the way, this is the only way. We cannot fight demons unless we are willing to acknowledge that they are demons. So I beg of you, get your hands on this book, read it, confront it, and do not read it and walk away from it saddened or feeling like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? What if our government really is this evil? Walk away from it being assured that we already know how this book ends. In the end, goodness wins. That's the truth. In the end, God wins.